open the select board meeting, and we begin with public comments, and just remember, a reminder that it's the public's turn to speak. We won't necessarily have an ongoing conversation, but if there are things to be followed up, we will attend to that at the next meeting. And I believe Hebe has something to say.
Sure. I was just, sort of information and following up on a few things that have been coming up over the last few months. I was wondering who reads the select board email,
Okay,
because,
and I'd like you to present your questions, because we probably will not be following, or picking them up one by one. We'll
Right.
probably get back to you at our
right,
next
and
meeting.
I was just gonna say, because I'm concerned that if only one person reads them, that concerns aren't broadly shared. I'm wondering who is responsible for updates on the website, because I find things that are incorrect, and I would be happy to share that information, because I know it's a multifaceted, many pages, and it's hard to stay on top of it, but if I knew who the point person was, I could send emails that way. I can't find in the minutes when the select board discussed warrant articles 2, 3, and 4, and discussed who would be talking to the select board's point of view at town meeting. Because if the select board decided that David would be the point person, that should show up in the minutes. All decisions of the select board should be reflected in the minutes, and I can't find anything to that point. And I was concerned about David's tone in town meeting, talking about current elected members of the town government. I thought it was, well, he's a lawyer, he'll know if it was slander or libel, but it was just seemed inappropriate. When did the select board discuss warrant 14? You, Judy, in town meeting said that you had planned to update the values, but I don't find anything in the minutes that reflect the select board discussing that. I did find a table that apparently Todd had put together for you, or somebody had put together, of what the elder, not abatement, exemption is across the state. And that was a good thing you guys were starting to do, and you didn't publicize it, so it's like, if you're doing good things, you should let people know. The town attorney was incorrect in town meeting about whether elected and appointed positions have to be resident of the town. Jim Kenyon has perpetrated this misunderstanding, and I don't see any correction of that, and I think that we should talk to the attorney about what her information is, because I find the RSA that explains all of this. And finally, when I was looking at town report, I don't know why I do this to myself, Great River Hydro has dropped off the tax roll for about over $1 million, which is $30,000 worth of taxes. And I don't find anything in the select board minutes discussing this decision or if there's a negotiated in lieu of taxes, we're gonna pay, it's just gone.
Okay,
So-
so we will tackle all of those
Yep.
individually, and we will get back to you.
Perfect, that's just
Okay.
what I wanted, thank you.
Thank you very much for also sending that information, so we knew you were going to be here.
Right.
Very good,
Exactly.
thank you. And Sue?
Yes, I wanted to follow up on the covered bridge, the repair and maintenance of the covered bridge, which has been a concern now for a couple of years, and whether or not you plan on applying for the federal infrastructure funds,
The ARPA funds?
yeah, to pay for it.
Okay, very good. We're continuing with that, looking at it. And ARPA funds, I know we'll be re-looking at them. Before we looked at them, there were a lot of conditions that didn't necessarily make them apply to Lyme. So we need to follow through
The
on
infrastructure funds, not,
the-
I'm talking about the infrastructure funds.
I think that's ARPA, right? And then weren't there conditions that we didn't-
Originally, yes, well, with that one,
But
but there
it's-
is a different one that Sue was talking about
Okay.
that we're gathering, all the info on. Everybody keeps saying
Yeah,
it's so
but-
easy, you can use it for anything, but
You
Well,
can't.
and millions of dollars have come to the
Right,
state,
yeah.
and couple of months ago, and I last heard only 20% of it had gone out, so.
Yep.
Michael? Okay, thank you. Rich?
So actually, I was gonna ask about the Wi-Fi password, and I see it written there. Would it help to get that, I can reprint that QR?
I would love to have it just like this. Thank you very much. We've been round and round about that.
Really? Okay, well, that's the right decision. Thank you very
You're
much.
very welcome. It will help all of us, myself included. Michael, welcome.
Good morning,
We're in public session. Any
thank you.
contributions?
Here to listen.
Okey doke. Thank you.
I did have one more
Evie?
question, sorry. I was curious about how many residents have applied for property tax abatements.
I'm curious about that as well. I don't have that number, and I'm not sure that Dina has that number right now. You have it?
I do, 51.
Okay.
Say it again, how many?
51.
51, okay.
That's not, yeah, that's not exorbitant for a reval year, believe it or not.
And those are abatements to have the tax assessor come out and look at
Correct.
the property.
Correct.
And look at the valuation of the property.
Is it appropriate to email the assessing clerk to try to set up an appointment?
If you've received a letter, it
I
is.
did, yeah,
Yes, then you should.
okay,
Yeah.
so I haven't heard back from her, so. It's all right.
Send another email.
Usually the letter, yeah, you gotta either call or
I emailed her.
ask. You did, okay,
Yeah.
well, call her. It's probably easier to set up an appointment via the phone for her.
Hmm.
Cause there's all kinds of different choices.
Yes, I was just being very flexible.
Okay, thank you, folks, and thank you for coming, especially on this miserable day. And
Yeah, it's
I'm-
been a long time since we've had such an audience.
Yes. Do we have anyone on the computer, Dina, that
We
might
have
want to speak?
One person, David Avery.
Okay, Mr. Avery, would you like to, do you have something to say for the public session?
No, I do not have anything to add, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Alan speaks.
All right then, moving along. We have minutes from March 10th. What do we wish to do with the March 10th minutes?
I'll move them.
Second.
Thank you, Ben and David. Any changes, corrections, other than typos or capitalizations or some phraseology?
I don't have anything this week.
Okay, Ben, anything? All those in favor of the March 10th minutes as written, say aye.
Then
David, aye.
And Judy, aye. They're approved. Thank you. Let Jordan know.
Thank Jordan, that's right.
Yes. Good work. I believe the manifests are going to be delayed. We've had all the computers down while the new computers were being installed, and everything is a little bit behind. As always, if they come electronically and individually, we look at them, forward comments or approvals of them to Dina. We authorize Dina to sign those minutes, the manifests. And, let's see. We have a note here to review, approve, and sign the MS 232 report of appropriations voted. And so, this is just a restatement of the budget,
Of what was voted, yep, at town meeting.
town meeting. Okay. Okay, and moving Chief O'Keefe with us. And I think he's going to give us an update on parking concerns at the skiway. Would that be correct? No?
Me?
No, Chief O'Keefe?
Oh,
He's sitting right behind you.
No, I thought this was something in the works
Okay.
with Dartmouth, so I don't know the word.
We don't have an update on that.
There's, yeah,
Okay.
Probably we have the letter, but we don't have the letter yet, so.
Do you guys wanna talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, love to.
So, I took a look at the letter yesterday, and I can edit it and revise it and recirculate it. But if I were approaching this on my own, I think before I sent out a big, long letter with a laundry list of complaints and things that we're concerned about, I would wanna have a verbal conversation with the appropriate party at Dartmouth and see if you can't get our concerns satisfied without, like, anyone who gets that letter is gonna feel like it's a little bit of an attack, a little
Heavy-handed.
belligerent. Usually I think you'd start out softer with a verbal discussion. I don't know who the right person is at Dartmouth to have that discussion with, or maybe we could have, if there's a person at Dartmouth, we can invite them to attend a select board meeting and see if we could talk to them about this stuff before we start sending nasty letters. It's not really a nasty letter.
It
but
wasn't a nasty
No, it
letter.
isn't, but
It was
but if
very-
you got that letter, you wouldn't it'd be like, oh God,
Yeah.
these people
Well,
are.
I think they have a heads up on it, so anyways, but
No,
yes,
so
I think
maybe
you're
that's
right.
fine, and maybe
I
you
think
guys
you're right.
wanna-
A phone call is,
A phone call and
and
an
see if they'll
invitation
come,
perhaps.
right.
Do we have an individual, do we know?
Well, I can find
You
out who
think
it
you can
is,
find
but
out?
yes.
Okay, let's take that direction then. I think that's a good suggestion,
I do
David,
too.
thank you.
Yeah, usually from a legal perspective, you get a letter like that, that's usually sort of an aggressive thing. It's usually, we're getting ready to do something and we wanna create a paper trail. Whereas if you're just trying to resolve the issues amicably,
Mm-hmm.
usually have a conversation, or at least you start with that.
And so I know Sean had to step out. I think there's one more event, or they already had their last event out there at the skiway.
I don't think they'll be having any more ski events out there, it's looking pretty sad, but I don't know what, you
When
know,
last we talked, there was one more
there
event
was,
coming up.
and they haven't done, that hasn't come yet.
Yeah, I kinda figured this was a next year thing, given the weather and the
So we have some
and-
time.
Well, there's some other additions to it, which has to do with summer use, so it isn't a next year thing, but it's a coming thing to
Yeah.
talk about, yes.
Should we get Sean's input on this?
Yeah, so Sean, yeah, go ahead, David.
So, we're talking about how we interact, or how we initiate interactions with
Mhm.
Dartmouth about some of the safety and parking concerns. And I read the letter, and I can certainly go through it and revise it and get it ready to send, but my inclination would be that we start rather with a verbal conversation with the appropriate people at Dartmouth. That has the benefit of being a little softer, and it also maybe helps us establish a relationship with the right people at Dartmouth.
Absolutely.
I'm guessing part of the problem at Dartmouth is that they get turnover, and so institutional memory is lost, and the people who are doing this now weren't anywhere around 11 years ago, or 5 years ago, or 8 years ago, when these various issues got resolved the first time. And so maybe if we could just invite them into a select board meeting, or even just have a phone conversation and sort of talk through some of this stuff, maybe that gets things resolved without having to send a letter with bullet points and, you know, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, this is
Right.
wrong, this is a problem.
Right, no, I think that, sit down with the board and myself is probably the perfect beginning. You know, I totally agree.
And if that doesn't get satisfaction, then we can always follow up with a letter that sort of,
Well, my sense is that if we have a sit down with the appropriate people from Dartmouth, probably the issues will be resolved.
yeah, awesome.
That's my,
That's your sense, okay.
Dina, do we know who the right people at
I'll
Dartmouth?
find out.
Okay.
I know who the right person was the last time the board met with them, but I'm thinking maybe that person's not there anymore, so, but I'll find out.
and I'm not sure that it's just, I think that, you know, We should probably invite the skiway manager and representatives from,
Last time it was the trustees
Yeah,
and the
that's-
skiway manager, so,
that's who I think,
That's-
yeah, yep,
right.
and that makes perfect sense,
Yeah.
because,
In terms of timing, we were speculating that the skiing events are probably done for the season and
skiing is done, yep, but then I would presume that the building will start getting rented out, or it probably already is rented out for other events
like weddings and stuff.
that are coming up, that will be coming up once the good weather gets here, so we probably wanna,
So we have a little reprieve.
we got a little leeway, but we probably wanna
Probably don't wanna
get
drag
it
it
addressed
in.
as soon as we can.
Okay,
Parking in the roadway, is that the issue?
That's one issue.
okay. So we will put that on a follow-up. I would guess if we could at least have the names and reach out to them sometime in the next couple of weeks, maybe meet with them
Yep.
4 weeks out. Okay, we have, sorry, I can't write hand think all at once. Report of woodcut, Smarts Mountain Realty, $3,890.58. Ben, you looked at this?
Yeah, they all look good.
They all look good? Okay.
We had the timber guy in from the state who looked at both of those.
Oh, great, what'd he say?
He said they look great. Well, we wanted him to double check one of them because there was a question that Jordan had, and that's what he's there for. So he came scooting right into town. It was great.
Excellent,
Yeah,
excellent,
yeah.
okay.
He's actually gonna come back and see us because he has some really helpful information and a matrix for us to use that he's developed, so it'll be nice.
That's really
Get a
good.
little private tutoring.
Oh, that will be great.
Yeah.
And we have one for Rich Brown,
Mhm.
and that is $419.34, and you had a chance to look at this as well?
Yeah, it's terrible.
He's getting rich off the land.
I've been rich all my life.
Oh.
I'm sorry, that's a stupid joke.
Okay,
I like these new hot pink signature flags.
yes,
Very, very impressive.
very helpful.
That's just because they ran out of yellow.
Depends on our mood. Today was a pink day.
Have you lived in Lyme your whole life? Not yet.
All right. Oh, this is the third one.
No, that's the intent to cut. That should have been on there and it's not. I don't know why.
Okay,
Sorry.
what? So, and did you look at the intent to cut, Ben? Have you
Yes,
seen
that
this?
looks fine.
That looks good
I was gonna
too.
say, it was in the packet, but it missed the,
Total amount of timber tax bond, $956.25, and this is for
Kim Warner,
Kim Werner,
Werner,
W-E-R.
W-E-R.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, intent.
Only the Conservation Commission made it onto the
Oh, okay.
thing. My email was lost, I guess.
Okay, so next up, we have signing the oaths of office for the Conservation Commission folks. We have David Lacey or Lacey, I'm not sure, on Cowpond Lane, and we have Tom Colgan on Orford Road. And they have come in and done their swearing, so that looks good. practicing.
Wow.
So just, yes.
Nothing,
Mhm.
it's okay,
Okay,
makes no difference.
we have a lease for the Pike House, we renew yearly. It is getting to be renewal time. Dina has forwarded a copy of that lease to us, so we had a chance to look at it. And I believe it's the same as last year. Was there any increase in the amount of the lease?
No. I didn't increase it, you guys certainly can do that, but last time we talked about it, you weren't going to, so
Yeah, they had asked for,
that
I
was
think,
quite a
a
while ago.
3 or 4 year lease, which we decided we
Right,
couldn't or wouldn't do.
right, but you
So,
decided to keep the
try and
amount
keep
of
the amount
rent
the
the
same.
same.
So, have we all had a chance to look at the lease? And are we okay with signing it and doing another year? It's the same tenant we've had for quite some time.
Yes,
And the lease agreement, remind me, Dina, this has been reviewed by council, right?
yes,
Yes.
gosh, yes.
Okay,
We need a motion for
I
this?
think we should have a motion for this one.
All right, I'll move.
A second,
Okay, David and Ben. All those in favor say aye,
then I,
David, aye.
and Judy aye. Thank you.
Are they okay over there, Dina? No complaints over?
Over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I
no,
think they're very happy.
yep, they are, very happy. It's an old house, there's a few snafus here and there, but we can usually address them reasonably.
Okay, forest fire warden information. I believe we all received a letter. And, I guess I'm not really sure what to do with the letter. You all have a copy of it in your packets.
I got it as a direct
I was
recipient.
gonna say.
Yes,
and
I
he-
did too.
He mailed it to everybody directly.
So, I think a brief response, written response back to Mr. Elder, thanking him for being in contact with us.
I did stop and talk to Don.
Did you stop and-
Yeah. Got the history of the letter and
Yes.
what his feelings
Was upset.
were. There are people issues.
Okay,
He became the warden after Brian stepped down, and there was some, he got some flack from other people, so it's not as cut and dried as Ina reflected to me. There's more to it, let's put it that way, and I'll fill you in on the details.
Right, I'm not gonna, I was gonna say, I'm not gonna represent how he feels to anybody, so
Well,
that's why.
okay.
Is there some
But you guys
action
should
that-
talk about this in non-public if you're gonna go
there's
into
peop-
detail,
there's
because
people's names
there's
attached.
individuals.
Okay,
But I think what you should do in public is, he's resigning, it's my understanding, or
He
he's
is
getting done.
resigning, and
So you should,
I thanked him for his service. He didn't want any public recognition, not saying that we shouldn't give him some. But, you know, Don has served the town of Lyme very well over a long
in
period
many
now.
ways, that's right.
Not only being the fire chief, but the chief warden, or forest fire warden,
mm-hmm,
and many other.
And the overseer of the Lyme Center Academy building for years,
Yeah.
he was really helpful. But you probably should accept his resignation with regret in this meeting officially, and then write something after.
Good suggestion, Dina.
Okay, so when we do have our non-public at the end of the meeting, we can get more details, but, we can accept with regret the resignation, and I would suggest that we should certainly do a letter and a, acknowledgement of all that he's done for the town.
Absolutely.
Do we have a consensus on that? I guess suppose we should have a motion and a
Mhm.
vote, because it is a resignation,
Right.
although I can't imagine not accepting it.
Sure, I'll move.
Okay, thank you,
I'll
David.
second.
Thank you, Ben. All those in favor say aye,
Then I,
David, aye.
and Judy, aye. Okay, we will work on that.
that I understand that the warden's position is a state position, not a town position. I'll be giving one of my fair presentations to the state
Fire marshal?
fire marshals in the next week or so. And all the chief people will be there, so if you guys think of any questions that you'd like me to ask or to have them come in or things like that, I can do that.
Okay, thank you. We will, let's think about that for the rest of the meeting, and then we can have our non-public session, and,
Well, I just do wanna say that the municipality has to actually sign and acknowledge a recommendation to the
Right.
state.
right, they approve it.
Then they approve it, right?
Right,
Right.
right, I know.
Okay.
But since we're gonna talk about people behind their back,
That's right.
we need to do that in non-public session.
Correct, and no, I just thought Ben was saying the state, so I didn't, I wanted
Well,
everybody
they appoint them, but we
to realize.
submit names. Thank you. All right, well, here's a good topic, especially given our audience today. The possible state legislature suspension of the disbursement of the meals and rooms tax. The governor has proposed suspending it at least through the summer, and I'm not sure if he means for the whole year or not. But Dina did provide a look at what the,
That's a hundred and some odd thousand.
It's-
so
yeah.
Big hit.
Well,
So
last
in
year
t-
we got the most amount.
in 2017, it was 88,000 and change. In 2018, it was 87, almost 88,000 again. 2019, it was 87,904. 2020, 87, it went down 492. And last year, it was 127,000 and change, almost 128,000.
Why the jump last year, do you know, Dina?
Cause I think everybody was buying out more than for COVID. They were delivery, you know,
It was
and
takeout.
takeout,
People-
and that's all I can imagine, that's all,
I would've
trying to
thought it went
support.
the other way.
No, they were
because-
trying to support businesses, that's how Lyme is,
Huh.
and it's based on, you know, what you do in your own
Cause they
town.
weren't renting rooms for a lot of that time, cause nobody.
Yeah,
Yeah, you couldn't.
So
Okay.
it's must have been, you think the increase in meal sales more than offset the loss of room rentals? Yeah. no.
that's what it shows, I don't know, I can't imagine. But I do know that a lot
Oh,
of
we-
people in Lyme were very, very, very supportive of the local businesses, the restaurants and the
Rich,
country
do you have
store.
insight on this?
I don't have any insight. I was just gonna ask if, we could get a clarification. So the governor has recommended not collecting meals and rooms tax?
To bolster the tourist business for the
Whoa.
summer in New Hampshire.
Okay.
He's suggesting this, yes, that's
He
how it's
hasn't
going.
gotten it
I
yet.
mean, right, but, so I just wanted to understand what we're talking about here. I mean, it doesn't make a difference to us.
So
we just-
when they proposed foregoing it or essentially creating a tax holiday, our question was, how much does that hit us? How much do we not get as a
And
result of that?
if I understand correctly, we get between $80,000 and $100,000 a year.
Although last year was closer to 100.
Right, yeah. Oh, huh. How exotic.
It's, that would be a big chunk of change that we wouldn't have for our budget.
Mhm.
That would,
Right,
be significant. So,
Can I just say one quick thing, just so everybody knows here, that it still has to go through both the House and the Senate. But what the, New Hampshire Municipal Association is communicating to everybody is that it's never too early to let your representatives and your senators know that that's not a good decision. So,
yeah, so what I was going to propose was that we have a letter drafted that we all sign and send to our legislators. And asking them, or suggesting to them that they not vote for such a tax holiday.
And the letter would say, we're opposed to this tax holiday because we need the money.
Well, it's not a tax holiday for our taxpayers,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, we would have to
it
make
just
up
shifts the tax.
just shifts the tax to
another
property owners.
downshifting
Yeah.
into the local community.
and that's a huge hit for the town, $100,000 and something $1,000, I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah,
And I would think that everybody could write too,
Well,
or
that's-
communicate, or email.
Yeah, I would say you could recruit more people to sign that.
we,
Well, individually, I would think it would be good.
I think individual
Yes.
letters would have more effect.
Right.
And it would come from the board and members of the community.
Share your language, that would be helpful.
Yep, do that.
And,
We can
and
put the letter in
now I do have an insight, that I think bookings are not gonna be suffering. I don't think it's necessary to have a tax holiday to cause people to come to beautiful New Hampshire. I think people are champing at the bit to get out, and so,
Interesting. That's
yet another
interesting.
reason.
So
Ignoring the
you've
financial
seen
one,
bookings at your establishment?
we're doing okay, yeah.
Good. So, David, would you like to draft such a letter? You knew that was coming.
Well, you'll be on a roll.
Well, I managed to weasel out of having to rewrite
Yes,
the letter to the skiway, so